a lone human, challenges the alien. Brood awakened beneath the ice begins like a breath of frost spreading across a dead world as dawn struggles to rise over the frozen plains of the northern wastelands where silence rolls like an endless blanket of white, and every gust of wind sounds like a whisper from a long-forgotten age. And into this barren kingdom of ice strides a single human named Arik Solborn, the last surviving explorer of the failed Polaris expedition sent to uncover the source of strange signals rising from beneath the ancient glaciers that crown the world with cold and mystery. And now, with nothing left to lose, Arik continues forward through the biting wind, driven by a fire that the cold cannot extinguish because he knows he is no longer searching for answers, but racing against the awakening darkness that has slept under the ice for millennia, and has now begun to stir with hunger and rage that no living species has ever witnessed, for the signals were not simply data, nor warnings, nor lost transmissions, but a pulse more like a heartbeat, and that heartbeat has grown stronger every hour, pushing Arik toward the jagged mouth of the main fissure where the ground split open 3 days earlier, after a tremor that shook the entire valley like the roar of a wounded giant. And in that new wound in the world, Arik sees a faint light glowing beneath layers of frost, a soft blue radiance that seems alive, and the air around it vibrates with a low, unbroken that Arik feels in his bones like the distant echo of drums heralding something ancient and terrible. Rising from its long slumber, and he tightens his grip on the plasma spear slung across his back, though he has no promise it will help for. Nothing in the expedition logs, nor in the archives of Earth speaks of what lies below. Yet instinct warns him that the light is alive, and so is the ice that holds it, and with each step he takes the hum grows louder, as if the glacier itself is breathing, waiting, watching, anticipating the moment when he reaches its core, and as he draws near, the ice begins to shift in slow grinding motions, like the awakening of a creature stretching after endless ages of frozen sleep, and shards of frost fall from the glacial walls as though shaken loose by the pressure of something beneath, pushing upward toward the surface of the world. And Arik steadies himself, forcing back the rising dread in his chest, for he has seen enough alien horrors in his lifetime to know when he stands on the threshold of something truly catastrophic. Yet this feels different, not merely dangerous, but monumental, as though the glacier is not hiding a creature, but an entire legion waiting as one united mind, and he breathes deeply through the tangled heat mask on his face, tasting metal and cold as he steps onto the ridge and looks down into the widening crack where the blue glow pulses like the heartbeat of a world older than Earth and far more ruthless. And suddenly the ice beneath him splits again with a sharp, thunderous crack that rolls across the plains like a shockwave, throwing Arik to his knees as an enormous slab of ice drops away, revealing a vast chamber beneath, lit by the soft, luminescent blue glow that dances like liquid fire. And inside that chamber, stretching as far as the light reaches, Arik sees forms curled in hibernation, twisted like coiled serpents plated in crystalline armor, and pulsing with veins of faint light. And for a long moment he forgets even the biting cold as he realizes what the expedition had feared, but never confirmed, that the ancient beings beneath the glacier are not ruins, nor fossils, nor dormant machines, but living creatures, trapped in a sleep that is now ending, because the ice that held them for eons has finally cracked open enough to release them. And as Arik stares into the cavern, he feels the heavy weight of dread, because these beings are not solitary hunters, nor scattered beasts, but a brood, a hive, a legion shaped for war, bred for conquest, and perfectly adapted for the harshest worlds, and unlike any species humans have encountered before, they are awakening, hungry and aware, sensing the intruder above them, and the hum that vibrated through the ice rises into a deeper pulse, like a signal, like a call, like the sound of thousands of minds stirring at once, and Arik grips the edge of the fissure, trying to steady his breath as he peers deeper into the chamber, watching the blue glow that outlines each massive body shudder, as if breathing for the first time in ages. And he realizes that if even one of these creatures escapes into the open wastes, the world will be lost within days, and any hope of stopping them will vanish, for he is alone the last survivor, and yet he refuses to turn back, because if he retreats now, the brood will rise unchallenged, and humanity will never know what emerged until it is far too late. so he pushes himself to his feet, forcing his legs to stop shaking as he prepares to descend into the vast, icy chamber, knowing that he may not return, but also knowing that someone must stand against the Legion, or the world has no future at all. With each step downward, Arik feels the ice tremble beneath him, as if the glacier itself resents his presence, and wishes to cast him into the abyss before the brood can fully awaken to meet him, and the cold deepens until it claws at his skin through layers of thermal gear biting like a living force that hungers for heat and life. Yet Arik presses on, guided only by the pale blue glow that intensifies with every meter he descends, and the hum echoing through the cavern walls grows into a chorus, as though thousands of unseen voices rise and fall in unison, speaking in a language older than the frozen world above. And steep walls rise on both sides of him, carved by nature, but smoothed by something else, something powerful, something precise. Something that once shaped the ice from within, generating tunnels, chambers and hibernation vaults that stretch far beyond the range of his visor lights. And Arik feels the primitive instinct of fear urging him to flee, to turn back, to run to the safety of the surface. Even if survival there is uncertain, yet he resists because he is the last living witness of what sleeps beneath the ice. And if he fails, then no one on Earth or any colony world will ever know what extinguished the Polaris expedition, which vanished without a single survivor, except him who escaped death only by chance when the first chamber collapsed. And now he senses the stirring of those same creatures, the brood whose silent dreams have lasted countless generations, and whose awakening could doom entire civilizations to silence and cold and destruction. For these beings were not born in this glacier, but imprisoned or stranded, or sealed by forces unknown, perhaps their own, or perhaps a greater enemy, one that feared them so much it entombed an entire brood beneath a frozen tomb. And Arik wonders if whatever sealed them away expected the ice to hold forever. Yet time has betrayed that expectation, and the world itself has shifted, revealing the brood to a modern traveler who is now forced to face what ancient beings once sought to hide forever. And as Arik reaches the vast floor of the chamber, he sees the largest of the forms begin to unfurl like colossal insects, shedding a crystalline cocoon, their limbs stretching in slow, painful arcs, and the plates of armor that cover their bodies crack and shift, releasing clouds of icy vapor that swirl like snow around them, and their eyes open one by one, glowing with the same eerie blue light that pulses throughout their cavern home. And Arik feels an overwhelming wave of dread, because each pair of eyes that opens is aware of him, instantly focusing on him with a predatory intelligence that chills him more deeply than the cold ever could. And he forces himself to lift the plasma spear, knowing that if he hesitates even for a moment, he will be torn apart before he can make a single move. Yet even as the first creature rises to its full terrifying height, towering over him like a living monument of ice and armor, Arik refuses to retreat, for he understands that this moment is not a battle for survival, but a final stand, a desperate challenge thrown against the darkness waking beneath the ice. A declaration that humanity will not fall without a fight, and the creature lets out a sound unlike anything Arik has heard, a deep, resonant vibration that shakes ice dust from the chamber roof, sending it raining down like shimmering snow. And that sound is answered by the others, echoing through the cavern, until the entire brood hums as one living organ that sings of hunger, awakening and conquest. And Arik tightens his grip, bracing his feet in the frost, as if anchoring himself against a storm, and the nearest creature surges toward him with terrifying speed, its limbs smashing against the ice, sending shards exploding outward like deadly crystal spears. And Arik dives aside, narrowly evading the strike, feeling the ice crack beneath him as he rolls and rises in one motion, bringing the plasma spear up and unleashing a searing burst of energy that cuts across the creature's armored flank, spilling blue luminous liquid that sizzles upon contact with the air, and the creature bellows in fury, rearing back as its wound pulses with light. And Arik knows he has drawn first blood, though he also knows that he has only provoked the brood into greater wrath. And as he steadies himself, the other creatures begin to move, unfolding limbs and shaking off the last remnants of their long hibernation, turning their glowing eyes toward him, as if recognizing him as the threat they must extinguish before rising fully into the world. and Arik's breath fogs in the air as he tries to gauge his chances, which hover between impossibility and death. Yet he refuses to falter, because he carries in his memory the faces of his lost crew, their final cries, the terror that seized their hearts as the glacier swallowed them, and he bears the weight of their unspoken plea that someone must warn the world, someone must stand against the brood. And even if he fails, he will at least carve his defiance into the ice so that any who come after will know that humanity did not fall without a voice, without a fight, without a single warrior. Willing to challenge the darkness, and with that thought burning in him, he charges forward, shouting into the cavern, letting his voice rise above the humming roar of the brood as he aims for the largest creature, the presumed alpha whose awakening stirs the others into action, for if he can wound or fell the alpha, perhaps he can slow the brood long enough to find a way to seal them once more or destroy them outright, though he does not yet know how, and as he closes the distance, the alpha descends upon him with a fury like a collapsing glacier, its limbs slashing through the air with lethal force, driving shock waves into the ice that knock Arik sideways and send fractures racing outward in jagged patterns, and he barely keeps his footing as he plunges the plasma spear forward, driving a blast straight into the creature's chest, where cracks already glow with the pulse of its awakening, and the energy flares with fierce brilliance, lighting the chamber with a blinding glare that even the brood seems startled by.